I ask you to please look carefully at the next image and try to remember as many words as possible. You have half a minute to read the words and try to remember them. This memory exercise is critical. Ready? You have half a minute to memorize as many words as possible. Okay, go. Did you try your best? Good, because I will test your memory. Meanwhile, I will tell you another personal story. When I was in the Army many years ago, we had a military operation somewhere. The conditions in the field were so rough that some of the soldiers in our company did not manage to identify the enemy. Anyhow, a gunfire battle began, and it was not clear who was shooting who and where the enemy was. I was a rookie in the first 6 months of my military service, and I remember my platoon commander losing his cool, breaking something he was holding and screaming, "I can't take this anymore," and disappearing for the rest of the battle and shooting. When it ended, there was deep silence. Then suddenly he came back out of nowhere and continued his usual engagements as if nothing had happened. We did not know how to respond and what to tell him. We did not ask him where he had disappeared and why. It was clear to us that he had undergone a nervous breakdown, so we preferred to remain silent. Well, we got back to the base and never spoke about the event again. And here's the interesting part. Wait, sorry, I forgot about our list. Remember the list of words I wanted you to memorize? Okay, so let's check what you remember. Please take an empty page and let's check your memory. You can also use your fingers. I will read you a list of words, and all you have to do is draw a line on the page for every word I'm reading that you did remember. Okay, as I've said, you can also count with your fingers. At the end, we will see how many points you have and how good your memory is. Ready? Here we go. Who remembered ambulance? Please draw a check or line on the page or count a finger. Who remembered needle? Bed? Patient? Syringe? What about tray? Bandage? Who remembered nurse? Stethoscope? Prescription? Doctor? Health? Okay, so here's full disclosure. I did not come here to test your memory. I came here to tell you about a phenomenon called false memory. If I ask you tomorrow, next week, and even a year from now about this list with the image of a doctor and the words related to medicine, and you are connected to a lie detector and have to answer the question, did the word doctor appear in the list? As I asked a minute ago, most people would answer, yes, definitely. And the lie detector would prove that you are speaking the truth and that you are 100% sure that the word doctor appeared in the list and the image you had seen. And even without a lie detector, at least 40% of the participants of my workshops remember the word doctor being on the list. But, as you can already understand, there was no doctor on the list. There was a doctor's image, there was some words related to medicine, and your brain concluded that it remembers the word doctor as well. I planted distorted information in your brain, and I am not the only one who does that. Lawyers do this in court, advertising companies do this, lying politicians do this, and we do this to others and to ourselves without intending to. What am I talking about? Well, the amazing truth is that every time we remember our past, we distort it slightly. We add another small detail that wasn't really there, another addition to our memory. This happens for two reasons. One, the brain fills in information, reduces gaps by creating a story to make sense and maintain some continuity. If, for example, you were beaten throughout your childhood and could not defend yourself, the brain finds a way to compensate, as often the case with abused children. Since you cannot close the moral gap between what happened and why it happened, the brain adopts a new truth that will fit the situation. It adopts a false story that will suit the logic of the event. For example, that we deserved the beating. This is how we adopt false beliefs that entail feelings of guilt. And the second reason, we dream at night and our day's memories or memories of past events creep into our sleep. And then when we wake up, the dream becomes part of a new memory, comprised of truth and what we created in our dreams. The bottom line is that we distort memories every day. We are influenced by erroneous information that enters our memory as truth and manipulates our memory throughout our entire lives. Every item of fake news, every piece of new information replaces old information, and the mind adopts it as a clear, authentic truth. This is the disadvantage of the human mind, its susceptibility to manipulation, but in our case, it is an advantage. And I know that it is discouraging to think that although we are certain about our past, it's not exactly the way we remembered it. Because in court, an erroneous fact can make the difference for a suspect between innocence and guilt, between freedom and prison. But there's an advantage in a distorted memory. First of all, the knowledge that the same event that we remember a certain way could have happened differently, this can be somewhat a relief. And more importantly, if our mind already naturally distorts and changes memories, why not do this purposely? Why should we not take a bad memory, change it a bit, and make it more tolerable? Researcher Elizabeth Loftus proved how easy it is to plant memories and distort reality. The next chapter deals with this topic, but what I must mention is that there is nothing immoral or terrible about it. Quite the opposite. A memory distortion is an excellent defense mechanism. Remember how I started with the story about the same battle where our platoon commander went nuts and disappeared on us? Well, 5 years later, I went to the beach, and I was walking along the beach when suddenly I saw my commander with 3 of his friends. Now, of course, we were excited, we embraced each other, and then he turned to his friends and told them, "Do you remember that battle I told you about? How I managed the forces on the ground and did this and did that?" And he went on with his stories of bravado. And I remember staring with disbelief thinking, what is he talking about? That never happened. Now, I did not say anything because I did not want to embarrass him in front of his friends. But driving home, I tried to recall every piece of information from that battle. And I try to stay neutral, aware of how the memory can play tricks on us. I try to think, whose memory is correct, mine or his? Who is right, he or I? And you know what the answer is? That it doesn't matter. He's happy, I'm happy, we're all happy, and remember what does good to us. So why not do this intentionally? Here we go. We are now going to do something that you see only in science fiction movies. We are going to change the past.